up, guys? Oh, that was loud. What is up? Welcome back to Motivate Her. Today I have my friend Taylor with us.
Hi.
Hey. She is, you guys know that this podcast is, I started it just because I love talking to inspiring people, inspiring women, just in general, all things funny, good, happy, sad, but especially I was just telling Taylor, like, I love inspirational stories in humans, and I like to keep things lighthearted and funny at times, but it's just a nice combination and mixture of both, I think.
For sure.
Yes, and you have always inspired me.
Oh, that's really, really sweet of you to say. It really is. I appreciate it. It's a weird thing to take in, because with that comes knowing like what it took to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But I do appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, of course. So I'm just gonna tell everybody, like, I met you, how long have we known each other?
Oh my gosh. I met you when I connected with Sam. So it's been at least, this year I think it'd be 10 years.
Yes.
Because we met at a party.
You did.
Yeah.
When you had your blue ends.
I did.
That was so cute. I remember that now.
Blue hair era.
Oh my
gosh. That was before kids too. That was amazing.
It was amazing. You should do it again.
I would. I totally would.
You should. No, it might be coming.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun night. And that was the first night I think I met Brady, and then I met you, and it was Sam's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good night.
That was good.
I still think about her when I hear that one song by Kanye West, because she was like, I remember it came on their TV, and she was like dancing to it, and I will never in my life. I was gonna record her, and Brady was like, "No, don't do that."
Yeah.
I was like, "But he was like,
no,"
because it's Brady. I was like, "Dang it!" So instead, we just enjoyed it, like watching it in the moment.
That's right.
And I was like, "It's fine because it's up here."
I know. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, I do remember that now.
Yes.
Oh, that was fun.
It was so fun.
It was a good night.
Well, tell me, everybody, a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I'm 33. I am married to an amazing man. Amazing. His name's Matt.
He is pretty awesome.
He's amazing. I hit the jackpot. 10 out of 10. I am self-employed right now. I'm going to start working a full-time job in August.
Are you excited?
I am. It's going to be a huge change of pace for my life.
I think it is, but I think you're going to love it.
Huge change. I'm going to go from basically like my time being my own to 7:30 to 3.
That's almost my schedule.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited, but I have some flutteries, just about the change. But
I was just telling my husband the other day, I'm like, everybody always, for some reason, people put this, change is intimidating.
Yeah.
It's intimidating, like,
oh yeah.
It's, very much so.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, if it's any time I have a change in like my professional career,
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not the change. It's not like the job itself.
Yeah.
I guess it is at times, but it's not
Right.
like being around the people I know, because I know a lot of people get like social anxiety.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I will stress myself out, because if I don't pick up on like my actual job at hand, like my daily task,
Right.
if I struggle with learning it, I get so frustrated, because I'm like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm just getting like,
Yeah.
I'm overthinking everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't we do that?
We do. I will overthink and stress myself out
Every little thing.
Yes, because I think a lot of it too has depended on like the environment that I'm in. So there's been the last few jobs that hasn't been that bad, but there's also been other jobs where I'm like, people just kind of, it was very old school. They were like, pick this up, learn it. And I'm like,
yeah.
What page of the manual is that on?
Yeah, no, and then that's not the case here. I'm already training. I've been training. I'm going to be the administrative assistant at my daughter's school.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and it's my alma mater, so I went there too. I graduated high school from there.
It's so exciting.
Teeny tiny little private school here in Tulsa. So it's an amazing school that changed my life. So the administrator is going to be my boss, and it's like dream boss, dream desk, like both of my kids will be there in school next year, so I'll get to see them like in the halls and everything. So
Aww.
I know. It's like how it couldn't have been planned better.
No, it's like it's meant to be, and how awesome that they're going to be there while you're there.
Yeah, and Vera's already, my daughter Vera, she's 7, she's already telling all of her friends, like, my mom's gonna be sitting right there next year.
Aww.
And she's gonna tell you if you're tardy or not. Like stuff like that.
Better be on time.
Right, I know.
Got it,
like,
girl.
We better be on time. Ugh. But yeah, so that's like my day to day right now is just I'm taking care of my kids and my home, and
that is a full-time job.
it is a full-time job. And then I am like a kind of a co-worship leader at my church. I help lead worship there, and
that is awesome.
that's fun. That's like really fulfilling, really amazing. I mean, that's what I could think of when I think of like describing myself. I'm a daughter, a mother, friend,
and then just an all-around,
just
freaking
all
badass.
around. Sure.
You are.
Yeah.
You are very inspiring.
Oh, thanks.
Very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
Not just through your faith, but just through your life struggles and things that you've went through, and you don't let it hinder you. Or I mean, I'm as far as like just your entire, you know what I mean. You don't let it make you bitter.
Yeah.
Which is a blessing.
Yeah.
I talked to my friend Sue. I was telling you earlier, she was on a few episodes ago.
Cool.
And I told her the same thing. I'm like, I hold a special place in my heart for people that have been through so much, or had, whether they have went through so much loss or grief or sickness, whatever it is, and they're still here. Like, it's like, that's just, I'm not saying that someone has to go through really, really bad stuff to be inspiring.
Of course.
But it is inspiring.
Right.
Because you also see people that go through really just traumatizing things through life, and it gets to them.
And they're choosing to stay positive, choosing to stay upright.
Yeah.
That's inspiring.
It is inspiring, because a lot of people choose to, whether it's through drugs or whatever, they try to numb it, run from it, instead of just kind of...
Yeah. Well, and like, I did that too. I tried it all. I tried to run. I tried to numb, and I tried to like hide away from trauma and grief, but it didn't end up too good.
No.
It didn't. So it's like I tried, but I just couldn't live that. Like, I couldn't live that way. That wasn't the choice that I was gonna go with. I had to choose to choose faith and choose life, and to, I don't know, keep going.
And I'm sure that's not easy.
No, but I had a little one relying on me, so.
But you're amazing. You've always been an amazing mother and woman. So it's very inspiring.
I appreciate it.
So do you have, how many siblings do you have?
I have 3 siblings.
Are you guys close? You guys
very,
very close.
We're very close. And it's crazy. Not a lot of people know, and I don't even like to tell a lot of people, and now I'm telling a whole podcast with listeners, but I'm in the middle, and then I have a younger sister, and then I have 2 older siblings, my brother, and then I have my sister's the oldest, but the older 2, they're half siblings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're half siblings, but it's like my parents didn't tell us till later in life. We kind of figured out, like, why does she call him mom and blah, blah, like vice versa. And they're like, well, because that's their son, and we were married previously. So both of my parents, when they got married, they brought 2 kids into the marriage with them,
awesome.
and then had me and my sister. And like, we just were never raised that way. Like, my mom raised my sister like her own, and my dad did the same with my brother. And that was inspiring, and even still to this day, it's like I went to lunch with my dad yesterday, and the owner of the restaurant knows my dad, and he's like, how's your kids? How many kids do you have? And my dad included my brother. Like, my dad always does that.
Aww.
So
I love that.
That's who raised me. Like, I've learned from that. So that's why we're so close.
That's awesome.
We make it a point to stay super close.
That's how my daughter and her stepsisters are.
Yeah.
And she calls, like,
Yeah.
their mom, my husband's ex-wife. We are all, like, she calls her bonus mom.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Same.
And I don't, not trying to be morbid, but I tell Jaden all the time, like, well, that's where you're going to live.
Right.
After this, but I told Brady, I'm like, we really need to work on that. I got to work on my grown-up stuff and put that in the will, but we had to have that conversation, and she was like.
So she knows.
Yeah, and she was like, I want to be with my sisters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, I'm glad we had this discussion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to make sure you're happy. So she's like, okay, well, everybody knows it. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But I just think that that's close, and I love it when families you don't have to necessarily be, besties, but I love it when families are just, can get along.
Oh, yeah, we get along.
I've lucked out to where I really, like, my husband's ex is just, she's super sweet. Like, she's amazing. My kids are amazing.
That's great.
But I just, it's good when everybody can.
It is, and I've told both of my parents separate occasions multiple times, like, I just commend you for the maturity that you have, because both of my parents can be in the same room together since they're divorced. My mom's remarried, my dad is not, but my dad is invited to almost every gathering, every get together.
That's awesome.
And then vice versa, like, my dad will invite my mom over to things when we're all together, and I've just told them both, like, you don't understand the gift that is to the children, coming from the kid who's part of the divorce. Like, that's such a huge gift and a blessing that, like, just keeps on giving. It's just nice to have everyone together.
It is. My parents weren't like that, and you guys know, they just aren't. They had a moment in time, which was not that long ago, where they started talking again. It was like, it was great, but it was also like, this is weird.
Really?
Like, because that's how long they went. They just.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, you guys, like, when you meet, I just said this on I'm like, you meet my parents, like, you would not know that they were together, let alone had children.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's night and day people.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they have a lot of similarities. I don't know. They're weird. But I love you guys, but you're weird.
Well, yeah. All of our parents are a little weird.
My kid says the same thing about me, I'm sure of it.
No, I'm obnoxious, apparently.
Oh, I am too.
From a 7-year-old.
I'm obnoxious because I'm the most affectionate person in my household. I say that Brady's pretty affectionate, but I'm like an overkill, and I know it. I own it. It's who I am.
I get it.
I cry a lot. I love hugs.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm
you
saying?
give great hugs.
Thanks, girl. They're the best, and my husband and my kid both have these moments where they're like, I don't want to be touched. Stop. And
I just gotta touch you, though.
I ignore that. And she's like, it's like you're purposely trying to ignore me. I'm like, no, I gave birth to you. It's like I'm trying to show you affection.
Darn it. Yeah.
And you just get used to it. And she's like, especially she's all teenage. She's like, stop. I'm like, I will never.
I know.
You understand me?
And you shouldn't stop.
No, I won't. I'm not gonna do it.
I love it.
So how did you and Matt meet?
We met at church.
That is awesome.
We met at church. I was 17. He was 20, literally about to turn 21. Like,
he's older than you?
Yeah.
I thought you guys were the same age.
No, not too much older. But at that time, 17
and
21, my dad was like, no. No, I don't care if it's the pastor's kid. No. But, like, so I was on the worship team at the church we met at, and I was up there for worship practice one time, and this dude just walked in, and they were like, oh yeah, that's the new pastor's kid, and he plays guitar. He's in a band. And
You're like, he's in a band.
I was just like, I'm done. And, like, I hate it when people say love at first sight, but I really did see him, and I was so taken with him. I would say
the same thing about Brady.
Yeah.
And he was even had his arm around another chick.
No way.
And I was a lot younger, and then he didn't know who I was until like a few years later. And I was still young, but at the time, first time I ever saw him.
Because there's an age gap.
There's 14-year age gap.
Okay.
So I was not even like, I was like this, I was 14 or 15, I was walking into a show at the Canes, and he was there with another radio promoting it. Yeah. But he didn't, like, again, he had no idea who I was at the time. Yeah. I just saw him, and I was like, I'm going to marry that man.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought.
I love it.
That's exactly what I thought. I was just so taken with him, and he was such a nice person, like, because what you saw was beard, long hair, all black band shirts, cargo shorts, and Vans.
How can you go wrong?
I know, but to my parents though, they were like, "This is troublemaker." But then when you got to meet him, like to his core, you were like, "This is a really good guy who like had a great like childhood and was raised really well, and he treated me just from the beginning so well, and 14 years later,
that's so crazy.
he's still my guy, still
Aww.
treats me like a queen." So I truly like lucked out, truly.
I'm sure he says the same thing about you. Trust.
Yeah,
I know he does. You guys are a beautiful couple.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've been together for 14 years.
We've been together 14 years. We've been married 10.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. It's cool. It's fun.
It is fun. I didn't realize that you guys were not that far.
Yeah.
Brady and I have been together for, I don't even know, a long time.
Yeah.
How old am I? So, like,
We're
17 years?
the same age, right? You're just a year old.
I'm fixing to be 35.
Okay.
But we've been together for 16 or 17 years. We've been married for, this May will be 8.
Wow.
And yeah. I told Brady, I was like, we're going to have a big shebang on
should.
10 years.
You
We
should.
are. Like, everybody, you're invited.
Please.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
I should sing a song.
Everybody's going to have their own microphone. It's going to be great.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Maybe not everybody. It's very stimulating, but it's going to be huge.
I'm there for it.
I don't even know where we're going to have this thing because that many people are going to come. Looking around, here we go.
Here we are.
It could happen. Yes, we need to talk about this.
Okay.
So you guys that's a long time. So, and Vera is 7?
Mm-hmm.
So this was one of my questions I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
But what has been the most fulfilling moment or just fulfilling thing in general about being a mom?
When you have those moments when your kid just genuinely compliments you, like, because my daughter, she does compliment me, and she'll just say the most specific things like, "Mom, I just love the way you make my sandwich."
Oh my God.
Like,
that is so...
when she notices the little things that I do for her, because, like, there's so many things that we do as a mom that never gets seen, never gets talked about, and it's the things that we notice. And the other day, my daughter noticed the way I made her favorite sandwich, turkey and mayo and bread, and that's it. And she was like, "Mom, I just love the way you make my sandwiches." And that right there was fulfilling. It was a fulfilling moment where I was like, no one has a camera and sees what I'm doing right now and sees how important this sandwich is. But to me, I'm feeding my child, and it's important to her because she's being fed. And then she just decided to just throw that compliment out there so genuinely and sweetly, and those are the moments that I'm like, yep, I'll keep going.
Oh my God, that is so sweet.
Don't want another one, but I'll keep going.
My kid, she did that, I think when she was younger. My memory is shit, but she comes up to me still randomly, and I know that she's like her dad. She has a way with showing.
Yes.
She does. She's like me too. She has a way with her words, but there's times where she'll just come up behind me and just give me the biggest hug.
Yeah.
And like I just said, she's not a hugger, so when she does that, she's like, "I love you, Mom." I'm like,
I
love you.
That's
too.
Your love language.
She'll be like, "Okay, don't make it awkward." I'm like, "I just love it when you love on me." She's like, "Okay."
That's so sweet.
It
is.
It's
amazing.
I will never get tired of that.
Because that's her speaking your love language. Physical.
And it took me a while to learn this, and not just in motherhood, but in my marriage, that not everybody is, and obviously there was that age gap, so there was a lot of bumps, but you handle them and move on. But one of the things too was about how not just your partners, but everybody expresses everything differently.
Right.
And you have got to get on. Okay, so I was going to ask you, and then I was going to ask you a few other random questions.
Yeah.
Some not so random.
Ask away.
Who has been one of the most inspiring people in your life?
See, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I thought about it ahead of time, and I read it as who inspires me the most, like to keep going. And
however
yeah, and
absolutely.
And it was my kids and my husband, I would say, and my family, just because 100%. That's like my tribe, that's my people, that's who relies on me the most. But I'm gonna stick with that answer.
I love it. That's I honestly would say the same.
Yeah.
Or if I ever am going into specifics, it's always going to be all of them, or my kid.
Yeah.
I say all the time, my kid is the most. She's my greatest accomplishment.
Yeah.
I can't even take all the credit for that.
Yeah.
But I take what's mine.
You should take that half and be proud.
I am, because she's amazing, and so are the other two, and I'm not even. I can't take credit for them.
Right. Right.
Like, they're so great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you say has been one of the most trying times? One of the hardest things that you've ever had to go through in life?
Yeah. Probably, back in 2019. It started off as one of the most exciting times of life. I found out in, when was it? It was like spring 2019. I found out I was pregnant with this was my second pregnancy. And we were so excited. I think Vera, my daughter who's 7 now, I think she was 2 at the time. So we were like, okay, it's time. We're ready. Let's have another baby. We went in at 20 weeks to do the normal scan where you look at literally everything. And it was weird because I walked away. That should have been like fun, but it wasn't. I walked away with such a weird feeling in my gut. And then I got a phone call the next day that the doctor said, we found something, like it's not super big, but we're gonna send you to a specialist just to check on it. Because if it is what we think it is, then it's just gonna be like 2 weeks in the NICU with maybe one surgery and you're good to go. And we were like, okay, still scary, but we can handle this, we can do this. So went to see the specialist, and after just like an hour long of them poking my stomach and taking all these pictures and videos and ultrasounds, we found out that ultimately our son was diagnosed with a life-limiting diagnosis. And it's called Edwards syndrome, also known as trisomy 18.
I had never heard of that.
We hadn't either. I hadn't either. Like everybody's heard of Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Then there's Edwards syndrome, and Edwards syndrome affects the heart and the lungs, I think. There's a lot about it I don't know, so if I mess it up and there's people out there that are like, no, wrong, then please correct me.
They can just fuck off.
It's totally fine. I did the research, but then there were people who were like, don't Google it, so I didn't really Google it a ton, but I did the main stuff, and I just know it affected the hearts, and there would be like heart defects, and then there would be other defects as far as like physical, or some of them have what they call the trisomy hand, where their hands are like this and they can't open them, or like rocked feet, where they're like webbed and they look like this, like the motion I'm doing, their feet stay like that. So that was the diagnosis, and just life just shattered, like everything just crumbled, where I thought like such a safe bubble, and feeling so naive, and not even naive, that's not a nice word to myself, but just sheltered maybe, it shattered as far as thinking everything was going to go great. And so it ended up being a really incredibly hard pregnancy.
So did they tell you, and I'm so sorry that you know that but
yeah,
you guys are,
ask away, you're good.
You guys are amazing, and I'm just
thanks.
So sorry and sad that happened, you guys. But it is beautiful to see you guys both here now.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful when I see your tributes, and I know you can tell here in a minute about the people that you've met through, like it's comforting, and
Yeah.
I that may not even be the right word, but it's
No, it is comforting. It is because it's like you saw me,
yeah,
even through just social media, but you saw me from the beginning to now, and you've seen the journey, and it is a comfort to know like where I'm at now. And even back then, going through it, I don't know, I just still felt covered and safe.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And so we went through the pregnancy, and I actually went full term, which they told you so basically this was what we were told. Your son, we found out it was a boy, your son will either pass in utero, he'll come early and won't make it through birth, or he'll be delivered fine, but we don't know how long he'll live after. So that was all of our choices. That was our choices. And what I was seeing on social media, because I did look it up on Instagram, I just put in the hashtag trisomy18, and I saw children that were passed at 3 weeks, passed in utero, or there were children that were 2 years old. And so Matt and I were just like, we don't know what to expect. Like, we're either gonna have a child with special needs, or we're gonna lose this child and we're not even gonna get to meet him. We just did not know.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. And I woke up every day for at least, 5 to 6 months. I woke up every day waiting for that kick, because I thought if I don't feel that kick within 30 minutes of being awake, then I have to go to the hospital and meet my son, whether he's alive or not. So that was the reality. And that was just a really crappy way to live for a little bit. I lost a little bit of myself there for a little bit, understandably, but
right.
Come December of 2019, December 22nd, that was a Sunday, and I don't know why, because like weeks before, I was so large, I was carrying so much fluid, I could barely walk, but I decided that day for some reason I wanted to go to church. I was like, okay, let's go to church, let's show up. And I started having like incredibly rough, what do they call it? Contractions. I thought they were just Braxton Hicks, but they were contractions. So anyway, after church, I was like, I think I need to call the doctor. And so ultimately we called, they said, come in, let's just check on him. My doctor's words were, let's just make sure he's okay. And I was like, okay, let's just make sure he's okay. Well, they ended up telling me like, you're in labor, today's the birthday. And just so many emotions with that. We were just like, okay, we've made it this far. We've made it. I'm 35 and a half weeks.
That's awesome.
It was good. That was for that diagnosis, that was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt so lucky. And I even just kept thinking in my head, like, we're going to be a different story. They're going to be wrong. They're going to be totally wrong. So I had that in my mind, but I went and I had the C-section, and he was born not breathing, but they worked on him, and then he started breathing, and Matt brought him to me, and we had 55 minutes with him before he ultimately passed. And I think when he passed, he took a part with me. He did.
I don't know how you cannot, how that
can't affect you.
Right.
Yeah,
like
it did. It totally did, and it did Matt too, and it did our entire family. We were surrounded by our family and our pastors, and everybody kind of watched him go, and it's weird to say, but it was beautiful, because in my heart I knew exactly where he was going.
Right.
And
absolutely.
that is the only thing that, as a human, as a person, as a mom, that keeps me going.
Yeah.
Is knowing where he is. I don't know how people that's just me, but I don't know how people can live life and go through traumatic experiences, and especially grief, losing someone. I don't know how they can live life like just thinking that's it. Because for me, that's not it.
I just talked about this.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Oh, really?
Because I'm like, or like I'm just I'm never gonna be somebody that will argue with an atheist, and I'm not.
Me either.
I have my own ways of how I go about, I guess you can say, my relationship with God.
Yeah.
I don't ever judge anybody
Right.
that goes to church every Sunday, and like I think that's fantastic, and you should. I go to church when I can, and not to, and when I want to.
Yeah.
And I know that's very selfish, but I talk to God and I pray every day, more than once a day. And I don't say that to anybody. I do that for myself.
It's a relationship, and it's only between you and him. And it is. Yeah. So,
but people that don't believe, like I say, and I think that all the time, like, how can you, and not even that, but like, that's something that I could have another episodes about. But when I do know somebody I don't judge them. I don't love them any less. I just pray for them in private. Yeah. And in my own peace and at my own times. Because
I've known some parents that have gone on this same journey and they're not believers, and I gave them some advice. I remember I had talked to them just about what we had done, and we reached out for help, and they decided to go the other way and to not continue with pregnancy, and that was fine. Like, I just was like, okay, that was what you felt like was the right decision for your family. It's not my place to judge at all. I'm just here to love, just as Jesus did. So that's what I've tried to do. But that's honestly, like, people ask me, even my own mother still asks me, like, how did you do that? How did you get through that? How did you, like, live through that moment and you're still okay? And I'm like, because of faith, because of the faith that I have, knowing where my son is right now and knowing where I'm going when this is all over. And now my life here, I have a great life. My life here is great, but this ain't it.
Right.
This ain't it.
Amen.
This ain't it. My family is up there or wherever you want it to be, but they're waiting for us. I didn't mean for this to turn into a sermon, by the way.
I don't care. taking everybody to church.
Let's go. But that's just, when people ask me, that's what I say is, this isn't it. You know, the story's not over.
Right.
My son, his name is Copeland. Copeland's story is not over. It's continuing up there, and it'll continue when I get there, and when ultimately we all get there. Mm-hmm. So that's what keeps me going, is just knowing that. And I've been able to share that truth and that testimony with my children.
That's a peaceful feeling.
With Vera. Yeah, it's had its ups and downs.
Of course.
Vera is very, she has her moments where she'll cry and cry because she didn't get to meet him. We made that decision for her to just not physically meet him. But
I think that was
it was the right decision.
No matter what, it's a good decision because it's yours.
And I thank you. And we've explained multiple times, this is why mommy and daddy made this decision. You had just turned 3. Yeah. You wouldn't even remember, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And she knows, but she has had some therapy, and that's helped her a lot. But she just goes straight to knowing where he is. She's like, well, he's in heaven, so we'll just see him there. And so as a mom, you're like, like, yeah, you know, it's like there's joy. I've always said, like, I live in a place of joy and sorrow and grief, and they mix together at times, and that's okay. That's okay. Like, I can carry both, and lots of therapy has helped me with that, but I can carry both. And, you know, that's my story now. That's like I thought I had a testimony, like, I am a Christian, but now my faith, it just looks completely, totally different, knowing, like, I've gone through probably the hardest thing somebody could go through. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, God was just so faithful to my marriage. Like, Matt and I were good. Our marriage was great. But now it's like it has color. You know, like somebody threw all this paint onto a canvas, and like our marriage just bloomed. I didn't think it could anymore. And then me, like, the way I love and the way I pour out onto people just bigger. It's just more. Like God just blessed and enhanced my life so much. And, you know, and I don't want my story to say like, God's going to always bless you, or you're always going to get things tenfold if you go through something bad and blah, blah, blah. Like, this is just my story. This is just my testimony. Like, everybody's is totally different.
It is, and that's what's so great about it. And
yeah.
I feel it from listening to it and hearing about it and seeing you somewhat go through it, like little bits of pieces in real life, and then, you know, along the way in social media.
Yeah.
I feel like, in my opinion, sounds like your testimony was like, I'm a Christian, which, by the way, is still a fantastic testimony. Whether it's, I think sometimes people go to the comparison of, you know, it just because if that's your only testimony, it's your testimony, and everybody's is different. And but if that is someone's only said testimony, I think that's fantastic. Yeah. But yours is still, it's just, yours is your faith.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and I think like something I love to see, like, people that are not religious, my heart never, and I don't mean this in such a cruel way, so anybody that, all my Christians and believers out there, like, don't like start burning me at the stakes, but when I know of people like you and a handful of other people, and it's a handful, maybe a kind of, I will say, a big handful, but people that have like this just faith that is so deeply rooted into them, it would literally have to be only the hands of God himself that could shake these people. And I mean, you are one of them. And sometimes I'm sure you're sitting there, you might be like, no, you are. Because then I know that people don't know everything that goes on there. They don't have to. Yeah. Like the fact that you're just still sitting here talking to me today after you have been through the hardest thing that any person can experience. And instead of, I hate to, sometimes it sounds cheesy when I say this a lot, you really did let it make you better and not make you bitter. Like something, I believe that, and my mom and I have always said this, whether it's right before you die or as we go along here on earth, people that do believe and have faith as strong, whether it's as strong as yours or anybody else's, I believe that God has his way of like almost making us pay for our sins and our debts while we're still here. Yeah. Some might, and I refer to that as, the older I'm getting, I used to really believe in karma, and I do call it karma, but I also just call that, I'm like, call it fate, call it God, call it the universe. I picked to call it that. Yeah. But I'm like, you do wrong, you're gonna get wrong. Right. You know what I mean? Like, however you want to look at it, and if that's where if you want to go somewhere great, whenever this is done, you got to suffer the consequences. Like, but I also feel like there's times where whenever we go through, everything in life is an experience, obviously, but everything also always happens for a reason. And I feel like there's always times where kind of like something, you went through something so terrible, but you know, because something so terrible happened to you, and especially people that are not deserving of said terrible thing, something beautiful has to come from that. Yeah. It has to.
Yeah. And I didn't always see it that way. Like there was like, I think I said this at the beginning of the podcast, like I tried to maybe self-sabotage, maybe, because I think I had thoughts of like, well, I'm already down here on the ground. What's the worst thing that I could do to my body, or what's the worst thing that could happen to me? Or, so I think I would drink a lot some nights, and just trying to numb, but also trying to just, I don't know, like I was just in a self-destructive mode. So it wasn't always perfect. And that's what I want your listeners to definitely hear me say, was definitely wasn't always like a good Christian girl. I made choices that were not good. Also,
what would you say to people that are going through something maybe not as hard, or maybe something that is as hard, like whenever you were feeling in those moments, like what was, if you could describe, like what would be your best advice when someone feels like that, or when you're going through that? What did you do?
Keep going through it, to feel what you're feeling, completely, like, if you're feeling, you know, I'll just, like, if you're feeling sad, feel sad. If you're feeling numb, feel numb. Don't try to not, I don't know.
Don't try to avoid them.
Yeah, don't avoid it. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
No, I do too.
Don't avoid it, because it's a process, and I think everybody goes through whatever you're going through in life. You go through it a certain way for a certain reason, and I went through my grief, my trauma, a certain way for a reason, and I'm still learning those reasons as I'm parenting, going through life as a wife, like a friend, and just in society. Like, I'm just learning, like, maybe sometimes why I went through it the way I did. It shapes you, and it's like,
definitely,
the thing that I say a lot is when you're down on the ground and your face, even if you're face down, like, you're as close to the ground as you could get, because that's how I felt. The only way to go is up. The only way to do, well, the only thing to do is to look up. And when I looked up, I saw God. That was the pivotal moment for me.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew, like, okay, I literally can't do this without you. You are gonna have to, like, help me get through this, along with my family and my church family, and just so many friends, like you and Brady and, like, Sam and everybody, like, reaching out and just saying, we're praying for you. Like, you know, those things, like, seem small, but they're huge. They mean a lot. The smallest things add up to where you're like, it does mean a lot that they would take time to even text me, or even to say that they're praying, like, things like that, you know.
Yeah, it took me, I would, honest to God, like a year or two before I just, like, when something like that happens to somebody, same thing with, you know, I had my other friend that lost her daughter, like, I still randomly, and when I do, I try to, unless, most of the time I'm in the car driving, so I don't, and I don't have all this high-tech fancy technology, and like, hey Siri, I mean, I probably do, but I don't. Then I'm gonna send somebody a thing that says nothing that what I typed out and told Siri to say. That's what happened when I tried to use text to talk, or talk to text. I'm like, forget it, I'll do it myself.
I can't do it either. And then I get mad because there's no punctuation.
Yeah, I'm like,
dang it, I need punctuation.
Fuck out of my phone. But so I wait, and I'm so ADD I forget. But I'm always in my thoughts when I'm by myself. Either sometimes when I'm, like, running or something, but most times it's when I'm driving. But to this day, I think about her a lot, like somebody that just, I'm like, hey, I wonder how she's doing. But for a long time, you know, you and her every morning would be, you know, you're top of my prayer list, and I still do. But you think about somebody like that every single day, and I hate to say that, but how can you not? Yeah, you know, if you
for sure.
It's just a lot.
For sure,
that's a lot. Yeah, and it's a lot for not just, you know, for your whole family, honestly. Yeah. But it is so beautiful and sweet to hear you say, like, how you were saying earlier, how you, like, see color. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
to go through tragedy and then to come out on the other side, bumps and bruises and all.
It's like George Bailey, kind of. Wait, did that ever come out? Wasn't it in dark black and white? And then
I think so.
I think so. If not, there's another movie.
Wizard of Oz did.
Yes, Wizard of Oz. That was probably the one I was thinking about. I just really love George Bailey.
Both good movies.
They are.
Should do a podcast about movies.
I say that to Brady all the time. We are definitely going to do a podcast about movies.
That would be fun. Good. To come through, like you said, through the black and white and then through to the color. The journey was pretty rough, but and I'm not perfect at all. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect Christian. I curse a little, but
I curse a lot. I'm trying not to.
I do a lot too, actually, and I'm not trying to stop.
I know.
I'm not, but you know, that's for me and Jesus to talk about.
You're so cute. I love it.
But yeah, I'm thankful for where we are, and I'm thankful for the story that my son really helped Jesus write. And he's still very present in my life and still very important. And we talk about him all the time. He's still very much alive in our home. We have his picture up with a scripture, and he's just still very like a part of us. And
he always will be.
He always will be. And I understand, like, we know like that'll evolve, because it has evolved and changed. And he would have been 4 in December.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is nuts. It's nuts.
That's crazy.
And even Vera was like, I can't believe he's gonna be 4. Like, that was very emotional for her. The older he gets, the harder it is for her.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because since then, we've had another son. We have Jack. He's 2.5 now, and
he's adorable.
He literally is Jack from The Incredibles. I don't know why I named him that.
Because it's freaking awesome.
I did.
Who doesn't love The Incredibles? Like, seriously? Who doesn't love The Incredibles?
I know. So I named him after my grandfather. I love that name, Jack. I've always wanted. I knew if I have another boy, it's going to be a Jack. But anyway, yeah.
He's cute. All your kids are so freaking cute.
Thank you. Thanks.
He looks like a Jack.
He really, yeah, I think so.
And you know what I mean? I don't know how else to describe that, but he does. Just a cute little man.
He is. He's a crazy little rambunctious thing, too. Whew.
You are an amazing mother.
Thank you.
You are just, soul of the earth. You and your family you're beautiful. And
Thanks.
I am thankful to have not only women like you in my life, but to know women like you. And I know that without a doubt, not just here, but everywhere, your son story that has now became a part of you and your story.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to always impact and help people and change people.
Yeah.
And
that's
help
the
people
dream.
feel better about it. Absolutely.
That's the hope.
It does. It did me. It's inspiring.
Thank you.
And it's beautiful to see that
Thank
you again, somebody come out of something when they went through the darkest moment.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
so much for letting me share his story on your podcast.
Anytime.
I really
And you can come
appreciate
back anytime and talk about other stories too.
I'd love to.
Okay.
I'd love to.
You guys tell on this Q&A, tell her what you guys want to talk about next. That's what I need to start telling people. Like, hey, if you want this person back on here, tell us what you want them to talk about.
Yeah, I'm fun. I can talk.
You're fun. You're beautiful. You're all the things.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Right back at you.
Thanks, girl.